Welcome to Story Ideas on the Fly, where we pick an idea from the hat and try to develop it.
Okay, today's idea. The characters in the book fight with the evil author and must change the tragic ending to be a happy one and not betray the reader.
All right.
So
you
you have obviously a break in the fourth wall.
Yes.
This isn't like Book of Destiny where the author is part of the story. You've got characters in a book and they don't like how the author is writing them.
Fair
They don't like how the author's going to end the book.
So is the author a bad author?
Probably. Because
Okay.
if the author's a good author, they're probably not going to want to change the ending. All right.
Maybe make the path to get there a little bit easier.
Yes,
but
because I think all authors. Oh, I would hate to think if I had to face my characters.
Yes.
You taught.
Death and rebirth and standard.
Oh, sorry, your whole family was murdered, but on the bright side, you got the girl.
Okay. So what?
Also go with the possibility that the book was already written, and that he's made several books, and then he ends up and then the characters end up coming out of the book and start threatening him, and then he has to figure out how to rewrite the book in order to make it so that they aren't going to be mad at him.
Okay.
Okay. There are a few possibilities. You could also have it so that it's not that the book is terribly written, but that it's a tragedy.
Well, another you
Of
could
course,
do.
if it's a well done tragedy, then the actual cause of the eventual downfall of the characters is a problem that they have innately.
You could
So
go a
usually
couple of
nearly
different.
inevitable.
You could go a couple of different ways with this. You know, you can do the kind of "Are you arguing with the narrator" type thing and get a little on the corny side. If you want this to be a serious book where they're breaking the fourth wall, then you either have your author be the villain, or you have the characters. I don't know. I kind of like the author being the villain.
I think the author being a villain could be a very interesting story.
Because here the author is, because you get these authors, and this drives me crazy. And where you get these authors and they've got this wonderful story, and then they get to the end and they totally betray the reader. It's like, just give me what I want to see. Don't try to do whatever. Don't try to flip over. Just keep your promises.
That is a very easy thing to do. To try to do a backhanded walkover over the finish line instead of just running across.
And I've seen so many. I mean, I've watched an anime series for like 7 seasons, and I'm stopping watching it now because what they say they're doing with it. And I've done this on so many things.
Well, this is the problem with twist. And so, because people think, oh, I need to throw in a twist to my story.
An unexpected
twist.
Yes, right.
And
not Skinny-Mon Knife in Back who actually was the villain. It was actually this other random side character that literally had no foreshadowing.
And all he did was eat chocolate the whole time. Right,
Yeah. But so is the problem with the story then the fact that the author threw in a random twist then?
Well, I think you could go several different ways. I think the author, you're in a weird setting here. Yes. So because you're going, we're totally breaking the fourth wall. So why would that be a believable setting? Because if you're going, I'm breaking the fourth wall, you tend to get into farce. Yeah. And if you don't want this to be a farce,
this could be a farce.
Yes, but if you don't want it to be a farce, if we want to write a serious, interesting, well-developed novel,
of an idea.
Okay.
You've got an author who is, the son of a producer, someone who got this, who got his story through with, at least partially through connections rather than talent. But he did start creating a story that people actually liked, and he started developing a fan base, and people really enjoyed his story. And then he decided, to twist things at the started throwing in twists because he thought that made him so clever. And as the fans became felt betrayed and disenfranchised and upset, their will their will is basically bringing these characters to life and giving them the power to fight back.
One of the things.
Oh wait, so they're using the power of fan fiction to fix a story.
Okay, actually, I would love to see something like this. You've got a world where, heck, we've done different stories like Rejected, where that's where all the rejected ideas of characters go or something. So you've got a world where if authors write something, it actually plays out in the world. Okay, and so this is a scenario where authors kind of become basically gods and they can control people. Now, these people don't want to be controlled. These ideas are living in this realm, that is real to them, and they don't want to be controlled. So they're communicating with their author, assuming there is a way to communicate with the author, but they can communicate, but that can be believable. You just have to make sure that,
Just make it a sci-fi or something.
yeah, they live on another, I mean, the author is in this realm and they write and they can see what their characters are doing here, and, there's a way to communicate back. Now, the characters, this author isn't very good. And the characters are complaining, going, no, don't do this to me. Please don't make me do this. I wouldn't do this. I would never do this. And they're going, no, you're going to do that. That's how I've got it outlined. That's what it says you're going to do. You're going to do it. And they're going, no, please don't make me do this. And so as the authors are using as much freedom as they have. Because, they will have a little bit. The characters will be trying to use as much freedom as they have to fight the author. And the more they do this, the harder the author wants to come down on them. I was planning on having you, beaten here, but now I'm going to have you tortured in such horrible ways. And now I'm going to, and this battle between. And so a lot of the final battle would be the author writing in this horrendous horde, these minions, this big battle to come in and destroy them. And they find a way to break out of the control of the author and come out and beat this army and come out on top.
Okay.
That could work.
Yeah, we could.
I haven't seen it done before.
No?
I always like things I haven't seen done before.
I've seen similar stuff done about 100 times, but
what are you reading?
Be surprised. For one thing, this is the exact concept Book of Destiny was based off of.
Well, no, it's not. No, it's not.
No, it's the exact concept. It was just changed into the Book of Destiny.
Okay, well,
but this was literally the original concept.
Idea and take it a lot of different directions.
Okay, but that is nothing like I did with Book of Destiny, and that's nothing.
No, because you made the author a hero instead of the main villain.
Yes.
Well,
that's
you
okay.
didn't communicate it right. Okay.
Anyway,
I haven't seen
but
it.
also,
no, I wrote that
also, there's an entire genre of isekai where someone gets isekai into a story they read and they have to change the plot of the story, which isn't exactly the same, but it's somewhat similar.
Renee wants to say the villainous no matter what.
Oh, and also basically any shoujo anime.
Okay.
Oh yeah, good points.
Okay, but
this particular one is different. I will agree.
It is not exactly the same though, and you can get an idea that's similar to other ideas and still have.
Well, yeah.
Any idea you get, there's going to be something out there that is in some way similar, and you go, oh, that's like I know so many times you come up with some idea for a character, and you go, oh, like this guy, and you're like.
It's the modern era of storytelling. Everything's basically been done, so it's really hard to find any original
But
thing.
nothing's been done by you.
You're right, and so when you do it, it's going to have different. If we all sat here and we
wrote the same story, it would be very different from all of us.
We do this little family challenge every week, so like we'll come up with this week. It's a race of people.
It's an alien race based off of the phrase ingenious stupidity.
Okay, so we're coming up, and we do this, and every week, whether it's a race of people or a character or a writing prompt or whatever, we all come up with very, very different things. None of us are ever the same. And the same thing would happen on this. So if we give you this idea, and every single one of us here and every single one of you out here watching did it, they would all be very, very different.
Oh yeah, they'd all be very
different.
That's
how it is with ideas. So anytime you go, oh, that character's been done before. Well, no because it hasn't been done.
No concept is truly original, but every concept is original.
If you do it your way.
Well,
if you put your spin on it, if you
unique.
autograph it,
every story,
every story is unique.
So back to the story off my little lecture.
Okay, how do you give your your heroes the power to overcome the author.
Yes, because they've got to be controlled by the author, but they have to be able to break
And
that.
that is really the big problem that you have. Now in Rewritten, which was the original concept for the Book of Destiny before I gave it to you and you turned it into the Book of Destiny, the whole concept was the author couldn't actually control their actions, but could just control everything else around them. So he could throw them into the middle of a thunderstorm or create super dangerous environments for them to walk through,
But they could
but
still.
they could always make their own decisions. And that is actually why I chose a roguish thief to be the main character, is because, for one thing, the author chose him as the hero because the author thought they would be an easy person to beat, but they almost can counter the author by their cleverness.
Mm-hmm.
So that is one possibility. However, if the author can actually control their actions, then it becomes a lot harder.
That was your concept? Wow, it changed. Okay, so
Yeah, you literally
yeah,
did steal my
Book of Destiny is fun. It's amazing. Okay, so back onto this.
Well,
so
and ideas
we,
evolve and change.
we
That's
can
okay.
have we have to put limitations, because if we give the author total control,
Mm-hmm.
then
Yeah.
characters have no room to even complain to the author. So with
Yeah.
everything, you have to put control, whether it's a power, whether it's a
Mhm.
Yeah,
everything
the limits
needs
are more
limits.
important.
Right,
Yeah.
you got to have some limits. So what are our limits on the author's
Hmm.
I
control?
personally like he can't actually control their actions directly.
Mhm.
He can control their situation. He can control the world, like monsters and stuff like that. But
I
their
like that.
decisions are their
I
own
like
type
that he
thing.
control their location.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he can say, they can
He can
write,
mess
they
with
are
their
now
circumstances.
in the cave of the whatever, and they're there. So they
Mhm.
can't say we're not going to the cave.
Oh, great. So this guy also is terrible about actually having any kind of map.
Could they get any kind of outside help? Is there a way to? Is that how they get to communicate with the author in the first place? Is that someone on the outside somehow catches on that there's something going on and is able to?
Now here's a real question.
I don't know if that's
How
possible
do
or
you
not, but
how do they end up beating the author? In Rewritten, the concept was the author was actually existed in the universe, but also wrote the universe, and they lived technically in the universe, but in the tower far away that was really hard to access, and so they
Mhm.
were effectively just the author over the world, effectively a pseudo deity. But if you made the journey to him, getting through all the hardships he threw at
Yeah.
you, and then climb the
He
tower
was
and
flesh and
beat
blood.
him, you could replace him with another author. And you couldn't actually permanently kill the author, because then the world would fall into chaos.
Okay,
But in this particular case, we don't have that because the author doesn't exist in the world, so you can't fight him.
you don't have to defeat the author. You have to defeat
the circumstances.
you have to defeat what he throws at you at the end.
Mm.
Now, if you want a little twist on this, they can defeat the author, and this author who's so pompous and egotistical and is going to do this, and it doesn't end up the way he wants, but then the book becomes a #1 bestseller, and he's like, yes, that was my plan all along,
Interesting.
So,
Yeah.
and he doesn't have to get his come up is there. But the thing is, you have to beat what he did to them at the end. You have to live and get your.
have to find a way to separate the world from the book itself.
Okay, that would be a good thing. Can we separate
What if
the book and keep it away from the
I don't know if
author?
this would work or not, but could you have a ghostwriter? Because ghostwriters do exist in stories anyway, but what could you have a ghostwriter or an editor who sees the story is having problems and gives the characters power?
Or
Somehow
another
gives the
thing you could
characters
do.
the power to fight back.
We don't know if this is a fantasy or a sci-fi or what kind of story they're in, but if it was in fantasy, if you've got this realm where these characters actually live, where they're actually alive and the story is playing out, is there some place in this realm where this book is being written? Yes, the author is writing it there, but is there some place in this realm where the book is being written? And if they can get to that, they can take it, so the author can no longer
They
write
can
it,
fix their story.
and they can
Oh, so like how I had it in rewritten type thing.
I've never seen that. I don't know what you're talking about.
Right, because when I explained it to you, you only took one concept from it and turned it into an entire book.
You know,
And that's the thing, you took one concept from that and turned it into a really great book. So,
so,
Yes.
yeah, you should see some of the conversations we get into when
We
we
get
don't.
passionate.
I'll have to
Yeah.
tell you about rewritten sometime,
Okay.
and you'll actually have to pay attention to my full explanation before you write it into a book.
Yeah, you should see the
But Three Books of
conversations
Destiny is
after
awesome.
we finish these things and we go in the other room and we talk and we're like, oh, we should have put that in there. We should have thought of that then. But right, okay,
Please
back.
do that in the comments.
Right. So,
So,
okay, so back onto this. I'm going to forget them all
You
by
could
then.
potentially just leave the camera rolling.
I don't think I want to watch that long. All right, so let's get this and let's
all right.
actually get back to our story here. Okay, so what are we going to do?
Let's
You
see.
either have to have it so that they manage to break out of his control, they manage to separate from him, or they just manage to completely overcome his situation. But I feel like the completely overcome his situation is the least powerful of those options.
Yeah, well, I think if you had some way they could, the book is being written there too, because it would
Hmm.
need to be there. It's, then if they could shut that, get that closed, take that book so the author totally loses
Mhm.
control.
Yeah.
And the author loses control of his own story and the characters get to take
Get
over.
to write their own ending, as it
Uh-huh.
were. That could be interesting. It's still I still could see like a super powerful ghost author or something in the real world that's giving them this ability
That
to
would be a
fix
fun thing, yes.
to fix their own, but can't make it easy for them because
If you were going to do that, you would have to work on both realms, I think. You'd have to have the story realm, and then you'd have to have focus a lot more on the author's realm too, and what's going on back there in the interplay with the author and this
Mhm.
ghostwriter and his whole
fair enough.
whatever company
Okay,
he works for,
here's
and
an
you would have to
interesting thing you
take
could
both
do.
sides.
Fair enough.
This is this completely changes the story,
Mhm.
but it could be interesting. The main character, make them author the main character and have him struggling to write this, and his characters, and he starts seeing that his characters are kind of going, no, we don't like how this is going, and he doesn't know what he's doing, and have it be about him learning how to write a good story instead.
Or about how him learning to become a hero.
Mhm.
Because he could start writing the story and now if you wanted, this would be totally
And
off the
so
problem.
this
We're
would,
getting
well,
off
it would
there.
focus
Yeah,
more on the real world side of
Yes.
it, but
Yeah.
have it be about this one guy learning to become better, to not try to force things a specific way, but to work with things
Give
as
his
they
characters
are
the
and
power to
push
be their
things to be
best
better.
selves.
an interesting thing would be the author, if you want to go this route, the author, and then you've got this world where he has placed himself as the main character,
Mm-hmm.
but in this realm, so he can communicate to this realm with the books, because we just got a world where that's possible and
Yeah.
all authors do it. So he's got, in this realm, he's got kind of a mirror of himself, and the mirror of himself is saying, no, that's not how you do this, no, that's not how you do this. And so
Here's-
through
here's
this
a
character,
possible
this
option.
author learns, hey,
Here's a possible
let
option.
me get on a good path.
What if you have two authors writing a story from the same world?
You mean two authors who are who end up connecting to the same
World.
worldscape, and so now it's almost a war between those two stories because they keep intertwining with each
Well,
other.
because then if you have a better author, he could be helping the characters out, but then you could also have one who's going, no, this is how I've written this out, this is how I'm going to do it, and
war between the authors.
Could be interesting.
That would be
I
interesting.
actually
That
came
was-
up with a similar idea to this, but it was the illustrator who was at war with
Yeah,
the
that's
author.
in there.
Yeah,
So,
still in the hat.
That's
we'll
still in
get
the
that
hat.
one. We'll get to
That's
that
actually the exact plot of rewritten book 3. Yes, it was a 3-book. I planned a trilogy out of it.
Now, rewritten, is this a book you planned?
Rewritten is what you base the Book of Destiny on.
Yes, but is that an actual book or is this something you came up with?
It's
It's a
something
book
he
I
came up
I
with.
came up with it. Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay. No wonder I haven't read it. I'm like, what's this book rewritten? Is this okay?
I pitched
read
it to
it
you
before.
once,
How
and you
did
wrote
you
the Book of
not catch
Destiny.
That.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. It was fun. It was a good
That
challenge.
was fun.
But I definitely didn't understand it as I understood it as I have to
That's okay.
write this book and it follows him around and the author is the villain and the author is in the book and he has to thwart everything even though all the villains can see everything
Mhm.
he's doing and he's a thief. Okay, which is a good premise for a book. Read the book, it's fun.
Yeah, but Rewritten had a lot more in it. And
There are a lot of
actually,
different ways you could take this
originally
story.
there were a number of authors, and each had a
With this
different
idea.
land. And so one was sci-fi, one was fantasy. And so the first book was just about the characters beating the one author. But then the second and third book, it actually started involving all the authors. And by the third book, all the authors were working together to save one land.
Now that's an interesting thing
Interesting.
too.
That
Because
is an
what if you
interesting
had
concept.
okay, we're giving you just lots of ideas on this one.
This is just
Yeah.
brainstorming.
Yeah, this is true
Throwing
brainstorming.
400 ideas at the
So
wall.
what if you had, start with two authors, and then another author comes in, and you get a world. It could either be because it's a rather generic world that a lot of authors would write in, or because they somehow know each other, or they're in some writing contest.
Or
And-
some magic in a certain in a certain group or certain
Right, and so
company
you
or
get these
certain-
different authors, and you've kind of got a battle between the authors of who controls the story.
Mhm.
And so you've got people going, no, I want to do it his way. I want to do it his way. Please, let me do it his way.
Yeah.
But they could all have to
But
unite.
because the authors are conflicting with each other, the characters do get to choose. If one author says it's one way and then another author says it's the other, the character can choose which path to go down and starts.
And then you could have
That's how they
another
start to
character,
open up.
another author that comes in and just kind of throws a loop into everything. And I am going to come in and make this, kind of a horror story, go kill everybody off type. And so all the authors have to band together, seeing what's happened to their stories and these new characters coming in. Now that would
This
be
could be
really
interesting.
interesting if I could really just sit there and watch my characters. I mean, I do that in my head, but to actually have it in a world playing out. Of course, if my stories played out, I'd have a lot of apologies I'd have to give to heroes because, you have to have that death and rebirth. You have to break your heroes.
Exactly.
It's so much fun.
Maybe I'll
mostly just have
pitch
to-
Rewritten to you.
Okay.
I'd mostly just have to apologize for a lot of mutilation. I ripped a lot of people's arms off.
And on that lesson note.
Sounds
Giving
you enough ideas to work with.
So, okay, want your ideas on this? Because, like we said, we've just brainstormed and given a lot of ways to go with it. What ideas do you have? What way would you go with this? Feel free to write it.
How
It
would you
would be
do this?
fun. I think it would be fun. I wish I had the time right now, but I'm taking a sabbatical from writing to get some other things done. I want to write, but it would be fun because if we all wrote this.
It
Maybe
would-
we'll do that as
everyone's
a
would be
writing
really
challenge.
different.
Everyone just write one chapter. And, if we all wrote this, they would be
That could
vastly
be very
different.
interesting.
Okay. We know what we're doing.
There's another
production-wise.
idea.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. So, I guess we'll see you next time.
Comment.
Yeah, don't forget to
Like,
comment.
comment, subscribe, and everything. Goodbye.